I'm Dom Morley. I'm a mixer, engineer, producer, and you're currently in my studio, which is in Oxfordshire. When I'm working with an artist, generally if I'm mixing, I mix for people all over the world. So for most of that, it's just me in here mixing away. But when I'm producing, people come down, and I'm only 40 minutes out of London, so it's quite nice. It's sort of middle of nowhere, so there's me and some horses, chickens, and a lot of greenery. And people just come in, and I've got a nice little sort of circle of creativity, I think of it as, because you can see some of it behind. You can see some of my modular synth. Unfortunately, that's still only some of my modular synth. I've got a few keys, like a Wurlitzer there. There's an upright Yamaha there, and my sort of monitoring system is here. So guitar amp and pedals and things like that. So I've got a bit of a circle where we can do some singing and do some playing and make your record, basically. Yeah, so that's kind of how I would run a day. I'll either be sat here mixing on my own, or I'll have an artist with me and we'll be playing and singing and recording all that stuff. Yeah, so, well, because I love my monitoring system in here so much, I do listen to a lot of music. You know, I'll come in sometimes and just put an album on. If I've not got a crazy kind of schedule for the day, I'll come in and just listen to music in here. Outside of the studio, car is obviously kind of the most convenient. So I do a bit of guest lecturing and things like that around the country. So there'll be a few, you know, a day a month or something, I'll be driving to Leeds or Manchester or something, to one of the universities, to talk about mixing to the students. So that gives me a few hours of listening on those occasions in the car. And outside of that, it tends to be when I'm at home, I might be doing some stuff on my laptop, I tend to do my all my admin-y stuff at home, and then I'll have a pair of headphones and a DAC and my laptop. So yeah, it gets involved every day. I'll be listening to something that isn't what I'm working on, but it can be a variety of situations. Right, yeah, that's an interesting one, because it's not something that I've deliberately done. It's not something I have a set, I do this every day before I start. But when I'm thinking about it, you ask the question, there's probably things that I do generally, because I can't walk in and just immediately be creative and immediately, you know, get in from the car, sit down and start mixing. So I do think I have a process of probably half an hour where I'm settling in, and I have a good coffee and then listen to some music. I just put up. If I'm mixing, then I'll probably put up the playlist that the artist has sent me, because I always get them to send me a playlist of stuff that I think that they want me to aim for sonically. So I'll put that playlist up, I'll listen to it, and then I know I'm in the right sort of frame of mind musically and sonically to bring out what they want me to bring out of their record. So that's probably as close to a ritual as I'll probably do. Absolutely. There was a good phrase that a mate of mine at the studio where I trained used to use, and it was from his woodwork teacher when he was at school, which is you should always keep your wood as long as you can for as long as you can, which is basically always keep the best quality in what you're doing. That's how it translates to what we do. Get the best quality sound as long as you can through the process. So I know some people are going to be listening to the music that I make, that I've spent hours and hours over through very expensive equipment, and I know they're going to be listening to it through their phones or through little earbuds and things like that, and they're not fully representing what I wanted them to hear. But the more quality that goes into my end of it, then there is always going to be a slight improvement on what they're listening on their end. And absolutely, a good quality DAC makes a huge difference. I mean, I have you know, my laptop that I use to listen to music, and I'll be streaming off Tidal or something while I'm on my laptop, but I'll have the Chord Mojo portable that I plug into my laptop. I use the USB out instead of the headphone socket, headphone into the Mojo, and it's infinitely better than listening to, no offense to Apple, they're good at other things, but their headphone socket is not great. So I can listen to music in a much clearer way. It sounds better, which means it's more engrossing, more enveloping, and you just enjoy it more because you're getting more of the sound that the artist and the producer and everybody else originally wanted you to hear. When I mix for artists, I ask for their references of things that they want to sound like or sound as good as. And so I've always got a playlist going alongside while I'm mixing of all these tunes that they want me to reference. What I want to be able to do is to hear their references in the highest quality possible, and ideally in a kind of similar way to what I'm listening to my own mixing and my own equipment. And the Hugo sounds as good as everything that I have in my studio. All the studio quality conversion, the Hugo is on a par with all of that. So what I can do is I can run my mix through the converters that I have that I need my 32 channels of, and then I can run their playlist through the Hugo, and they are sounding comparable, and it means that I can actually hear a proper quality version of the references that I'm supposed to be listening to, and make sure that the mix that I'm doing is up to that level. In terms of features, I think I really love, I mean, it might sound ridiculous, but I really love the volume knob on it. It's really ergonomic and lovely, and the colours on it are really nice. But also the fact that I can put in, I sometimes work at different sample rates. I tend to work at 96K, but sometimes depending on what people are doing, there might be a 48K session or 44.1, and it's happy with whatever I give it. So that makes life easy, makes life simple. I use these outside of the studio as well, because I run something called the Mix Consultancy, which is a website whereby anybody can upload their mixes to me to get feedback on how they can make them better and where they can improve their mixing process. Now, I therefore need to be potentially anywhere. I try and feed back very quickly to people, so I could be in a hotel room in New York, for example, and needing to get back to people about how good their mixes are and where they can improve, and I need to be able to hear them really clearly. The Hugo I can plug into my laptop. It sounds as good as being in my studio, but it also has a couple of features that are quite useful for if you're monitoring on headphones, where it will simulate being on speakers instead of headphones. So I can flick between that and make sure that I'm not going down a road in terms of panning that I'm hearing on my headphones but wouldn't hear on speakers. So I can make some very informed choices with the options that are available on the Hugo too.